Well, welcome everyone to the 240th Annual 2025 Budget Presentation. My name is Rosanna Rosado. I am going to share with you all our proposed budget to convention. Is everyone able to see?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And so I'm going to rely on my colleague Gigi to let those that are coming in. And for any questions, please feel free to either raise your Zoom hand or give us a shout out in the process as I move us along through our proposed 2025 budget presentation. So our budget of convention is grounded in practical expectations as always. We manage our resources judiciously and we safeguard the long-term sustainability and continuity of our commitment to the mission of God. We're presenting a balanced budget, a budget that is mission focused on ministries, programs, and collaborations. We continue to enhance our transparency. We are being the good stewards of our financial resources, and this will also entail the reorganization for mission clarity and resource alignment. Our budgetary priorities, convention last year has asked that we try to stay within the mid of the range of our draw. We are looking at a 4.57% draw, which is reduced from 5.1 of last year. We're looking at a 4.1 COLA, which is a sustainable COLA. And we're looking at an average of about 7.3 on our medical premiums. And we're using a 2% contingency based on our common mission support. So I'll keep moving us along unless there are any other questions. So here we're looking at an overview of our 2025 proposed balanced budget revenues of 7.1%. So we're looking at about $7.1 million, which is coming in at about 0.72% lower than last year. 60% of those revenue streams stem from common mission support, which is coming in at about 2% greater than 2024, which is a good sign, a good indicator for us that our parishes are rebounding post-COVID. Common mission support is based on 10% of the parish's 2023 parochial reports, line B. Our 4.57 investment draw is representing about 27% of the revenue streams and about 0.78% lower than 2024. Our Episcopal trustee is at 5%, which is holding steady. And then other resources represent our reimbursement for the Director of Operations for Donations and Bequests, the final portion of our employee retention credit, and other miscellaneous income. So here we're just looking at some numeric values of the income streams. So our 2025 proposed budget is coming in at 7.1. And we are about $52,000 less than 2024. The overall trends reflect that investments are on the rise and common mission support is on the decline, but we're noting that because our 2023 common mission support came in at about 2% higher, that that anomaly can be on the shift. So our 2025 reflects that there's a potential shift in these trends. And you'll see the graphic representation on the bottom. So for 2024, we were at 7.2. We're coming in at 7.1 in 2025. I'll keep moving us along if there are no other questions. So here we just like to drill down a little bit on our common mission support. So our common mission support, as noted earlier, the assessment is based on the parish's parochial report line B. And we also anticipate within these projections, any mergers or closures that we are privy to. We calculate the actual receipts through June 30th and projected them out, and we anticipate receiving all the common mission support that's been budgeted for 2024, and that's the graphic representation to your left. If you look at the trajectory of our common mission support trailing line B totals, the graphic representation on your top right, you'll see from 2019 through 2024, we've come in at about predominantly 10 and shy of a few points of 10% in 22, 23, and 24. We continue to collaborate with our parishes to diversify their revenues and maximize their assets. Parishes are holding steady, and some are showing some rebound, and the trajectory is rising. And then there are several other parishes that are potentially exploring mergers. Over the past 5 years, there's been an average of about 63% of our revenues stem from common mission support. And ECCT is also looking at ways in which to diversify its revenue streams and generate long-term sustainability. I'll continue to move us along. And welcome Bishop Laura and other staffers of ECCT and Bishop Jeff. Any questions or any chime-ins, feel free to do so. So here we're looking at the overview of our investment draw. So we're looking at about a 4.5% draw, which stems from 47 applicable funds of 76. The draw of 1.9 million decreased by 8.9 from 2024. Our assets are held in a pooled account. Bank of America calculates the unit value monthly, maximizing the economies of scale. ECCT utilizes a 3-year rolling average of the unitized value, and we take that value as of June 30th. And then the unit value was coming in on June 30th at $13.69. The applicable units that we were able to apply were 3.4 million. Total funds were 46 million. And so that's how we determined the 1.9 that we use eligible for our our operating draw. As of June 30th, the total balance of our portfolio was $61 million. And just to kind of clarify, of the $61 million, only about 22%, 22 million, 23 million are unrestricted funds. The rest are restricted, either by vestry, by mission council, or by donor. And as of July 30th, we had 63 million, which increased by 2.5 from June. You'll see the graphic representation of the unit value trends. And the 5-year average on the investment draw has been about 4.8% overall. You'll see the list of funds that we have accessible for operations, and that's articulated on the left-hand side. I'll keep moving us along if that's okay with everyone. So here we're looking at the proposed balance budget expense categories of 7.1. Our budget expenses are coming in at about 0.72 less than 2024. You'll note that 72% of our operating budget is allocated to ministries, programs, collaborations. Deliverables and related program expenses have been restructured to reflect the ECCT's continued commitment to God's mission. You'll see that we have 10% that are going directly back to grants and specialized ministries, and these are to support our parishes. And then wider church commitment includes ECCT's commitment to the broader Episcopal Church. And so that's our commitment to the broader Episcopal Church. And then you'll also see contingency as a percentage of the budget, and facilities, rent, and utilities coming in at about 3%. So in essence, if we back out the facilities, rent, and utilities, 97% of every dollar goes towards parish support, grants, ministries, programs, and collaborations. So 97 cents of every dollar goes right back out to fulfill the mission of God in ECCT and abroad. And I'll keep moving us along if that's okay with everyone. So here we're looking at the numeric allocations of the 7.1 million in expenses. And I will bring us to the attention of the lower notation on our left-hand side. So the wider church consists of our contribution to the Episcopal Church, which is 15% of our operating income. The variance stems from we did not allocate anything for General Convention, and it also includes our Province 1 contribution to the church. And then pretty much everything else is in steady state. You look at Episcopal Ministry, which is 4 categories down. That's in a realignment of resources. You'll also see pastoral support and operations. That's a realignment of resources. And then if you keep trekking down, pretty much everything else is steady state. If you look at finance and operations, that's a realignment of resources. And facilities, rent, and utilities is a realignment of resources. And contingency represents 2% of our common mission support. So if you look at our graph on the right bottom side, ministries, programs, and collaborations, this is the full-time equivalent. So in 2024, the realignment of resources, if you note, there were 4 full-time equivalent staffers within the Episcopal ministry. And in the realignment of that, we've added a staffer. We moved it from one place to another, right? So it's a realignment, taking it out of one place to another. Pastoral support and operations, you'll note the same thing. Congregations and transitions, the same factor. So we go from 4 FTEs, which is full-time equivalents. It's not full-time employees, it's full-time equivalents, right? The difference is that a full-time employee is 40 hours or 37.5 hours. A full-time equivalent is adding up whether it's a 75% time or 60% time or 50% time of that employee within that category. And then lay and ordained vocations, you'll note it went from 3 FTEs to 3.5. Advocacy, racial justice, and reconciliation went from 2 FTEs to 2. Finance and operations went from 6 to 6.75. And then you'll note in facilities, rent, and utilities, where we had 2.8 FTEs, we no longer have any FTEs there. Those got moved into other departments and program areas, which where they pertain. And we maintain that in the 2025 budget configuration. Any questions? I'll keep moving us along if that's okay with everyone. And Bishop Mello, please feel free to chime in if you wanted to add a little bit more to anything at all. Did I see your hand, Bonnie? I think you're on mute.
Yes, you did see my hand. The FTEs, if I'm reading that correctly, it's decreased by 1 FTE. And was that due to realignment or is that due to attrition?
So one FTE, it was less than a half of an FTE, so it was 75%. And that FTE retired. That was our operations manager, Matt Handy, who moved on to parish ministry more comprehensively.
Okay.
Kevin? Did I see your hand, Kevin?
Yeah, sorry about that. What's the total number of employees that the 27 relates to? Like how many part-timers?
There's one 50% employee, one 60% employee, and two 75% employees.
So
So we're
31?
looking, yeah. So
Okay.
it's about 20. So if you back out from the 27, you back out 2.5 maybe employees,
Oh,
which
okay,
are,
got it.
yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Susan?
Yes, thank you, Canon Rosada. Rosanna, would you please explain pastoral support and operations?
Absolutely. And I'm gonna pivot that question to Canon Ranjit Matthews or Bishop Mello.
Sure. Thank you, Susan, for your question. So pastoral support and operations. The hope that Bishop Mello has invited all of us is to move into teams. And so a team that is working with me as canon to the ordinary is our director for human resources, our secretary for convention and the diocese, our director for archives and records management, the administrator to the canon to the ordinary, and our director of pastoral response and discipline. So those 5 particular members come under what we now call pastoral support and operations. So they make up this particular team. And as you see, maybe throughout the budget, you'll see different teams all scattered throughout our staff, but that's what it is. Hope that
Thank
helps.
you. Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Mhm.
So Susan, we had, just to piggyback a little bit on Canon Ranjit's, so we had like human resources living within facilities, rents, and utilities and other. And so we moved that and kind of realigned those particular portfolios within pastoral support and operations. The same thing with the archives and records management, right? So all of that is considered our pastoral support and operations, as Canon Ranjit mentioned. So we are realigned those positions.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to see the broader aspect of it. Thank you.
I wonder,
Kevin, do you?
sorry,
Oh, no, go ahead, Alan, please.
if you could also fill out congregations and transitions, that line. I'm curious about that one. Thanks.
Is Bishop Mello, did you want to chime in on that one?
I don't know if Ken and Tim is on the call, but if he isn't, I'm happy to.
Yes, please. I don't believe he was able to make today's call.
Sure. So congregations and transitions mostly are the personnel and program costs for that team. So that includes our canon for congregations and transitions, the new position of Director of Congregational Development and Networking. That's a position that's currently open. And the program assistant for congregations and transitions. So that's the whole team that deals both with all things transitions, but also as we move into further supporting congregational development, that's that team as well.
Okay.
Our hope in doing all of this is that we're trying to make both titles and teams make sense and put all like people and programs together. And our hope is also that if you're wanting to get in touch with somebody at the Commons about a particular topic, that you'd know at least what team to contact based on the overall umbrella. So that's a little bit of the reason. If you look at the bottom line from the approved 2024 budget and the 2025 budget, you see that we're down by 52,000, but it's really about the reason the numbers shift internally is about the realignment.
Thank you, Bishop. Okay. If there are no further questions, I'll keep moving us along. And so here we take a look at how we determine our cost of living adjustment. And so what we do is we utilize the Boston and New York composite, and we do a 12-month average of the change of the consumer price index. The reason why we do that is because we want to ensure that we position ourselves in a competitive advantage and that we ensure that we continue to attract and retain valuable employees. So if you look at the graphic representation to your left, the 12-month change for Boston and New York, Boston was coming in at about 4, New York was coming in at about 4.2, and our average of the two is 4.1, and that's where we get the 4.1 COLA, the proposed COLA. And we also take a look at and monitor the change for New England as a whole, and also Social Security estimate. And so on average, ECCT's COLA for the past 5 years has been about 3.9. Inflation overall on average has been about 4.5 during the same trajectory. So if you know, we are trying to keep up with inflation to make sure that our staff have a living wage. And then here,
sorry, Kenan, if you could just go back. Just one question that often comes up on this slide is about how parishes are to apply the COLA, and where the COLA gets applied from a ECCT standpoint is to the minimum. So when the clergy compensation comes before convention, 4.1 COLA will be applied to the clergy minimum. So if a clergy person in a parish is currently making the ECCT minimum, theirs would need to go up by 4.1%. If somebody is making over the minimum, that's a conversation between the staff and the vestry and leadership of the parish.
thank you, Bishop. And then here we're looking at our medical premium assumptions. We're doing an average of what is being projected, and it all depends on the plan. So the average coming in currently for 2025 is 7.3. And you'll note that each plan has a different percent change, but it all depends on what the employee needs and chooses. A portion of the Consumer Direct Health Plan allocates to the employees towards their health savings account, and then and that's of the high deductible, right? And then accounts for the portion of employees within our budget may change upon reselection. Every year, employees have a window between October and November to elect their health benefits, and that may change. And then new employees that we anticipate or due to attrition, what we're allocating, we're factoring into our budget is a PPO family 80, and that may be subject to change based on the hire. And so our medical average increase over the past 5 years has been about 5.28. And then here, I just wanted to highlight when we speak of ministries, programs, and collaborations, the different things that we're speaking of is our Advocacy, Racial Justice, and Reconciliation program, our Clergy Family Assistance Program, our Safe Church, our spring trainings, our communications and media resources, congregations and transitions, as the bishop elaborated on, our Episcopal ministry, which is the episcopate and their team, and the services and programs and work that they do with our parishes, the ecumenical interfaith and other collaborations, lay and ordained vocation programs, and our missional curacy support, our pastoral support and intervention, our parish financial analysis, and financial resource tools. We also, in addition to the Missionary Society grants, which are listed there, with the missionary, in addition to the operating budget grants, which are listed, the Missionary Society also supports and distributes an estimate of about $1 million in grants and loans to the Episcopal churches in Connecticut. And these are the different areas in which we do so: children ministries, clergy scholarships, retired clergy, church mission publishing, the care for creation, property improvements, tech safety and security. All these resources are listed on our website for parishes to access and to benefit from. And then our operating budget contains 10% of direct grants and scholarships to parishes. And that's, in essence, our presentation of our budget. Are there any other questions? Bonnie, did I see your hand?
Yep. I was just
Okay.
trying to find the raised hand. Do we know what impact cost in property insurance is going to be this year? I'm hearing everyone is skyrocketing, so I didn't know what the impact was going to be to us.
Yeah, we're still in the process of working with CPG on ensuring the final number. I think they're coming in at estimates of, Kathy, am I wrong in saying 12% or 13%? Or was it significantly lower?
I think that was about correct, yes.
Yeah, they're leaning towards 12 and 13%. And so as a caveat, we in order to help our parishes remain sustainable, what we do is we negotiate lower premiums and higher deductibles, but those higher deductibles are cost shares within ECCT. So if there's a situation that happens that the parish's peril does not meet the deductible, there's a cost share that ECCT does and works with the parishes on to ensure that they don't brunt the impact of the high deductibles. And so part of what we're doing with CPG, and it's across the board, it's in all dioceses because of our named storms and other perils that continue to impact us due to climate change. You know, it's hurting the industry at large.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great question. Diana?
Yes, thank you, Rosada. My question is about the health insurance. I'm retired, so it doesn't apply to me, but I looked at those rates and literally lost my breath. $50,000 for a family for a year. Have you calculated the percentage of insurance to salary for non-retired clergy? It just seemed like it must be an incredible percentage.
So there's, depending on the platform that the clergy chooses, it ranges. And so I believe the PPO 100, there's a 15% contribution portion that is negotiated between parish and clergy, right? And the PPO 90 is 10%. Kathy, please feel free to chime in. Am I correct on those percentages? It's 15,
Yes.
10, and 5%.
Correct.
Contribution that the employee would help the parish contribute towards. And then that is also negotiable between the clergy, the LOA, and the parish, right? Some parishes are able and will fulfill the complete, you know, they will contribute to pay the whole health premium. I think what is happening is that CPG is leaning towards encouraging people to take the high deductible plan, which is lower premiums if you're in good health, right? Obviously, that's weighed in by each individual and their personal preference on coverage need. But if you know the high deductible plan is coming in significantly less in terms of annual increase year over year. And so that's negotiated with, again, between the clergy and the parish.
I just know that having had 2 children, you want the best plan you can get. And it just, even 15% of that could be a stretch on some of the salaries. So I just wanted to bring that forward.
Thank you.
If
And
I
it's
could-
please.
Sorry, if I could, this is a very active conversation at the House of Bishops as well. Because one of the reasons that the denominational health plan works is because the number of people we bring to the plan, as is the case with any plan. And what we've learned is that low income, low health cost dioceses are actually supplementing high healthcare cost dioceses. So Connecticut is actually supported in part by places like South Dakota, which are not in financial places to be doing that thing. So because our healthcare costs in New England are so much higher than they are in other parts of the country. So I just want you to know this, we talked extensively about it at the Spring House of Bishops meeting. We talked about it again at General Convention. And this is something we're continuing to try to figure out on a larger church level, because everybody is feeling it. And I'm hopeful. We've got good folks working on it who are actually not just talking the talk, but actually trying to move the needle. So I just wanted folks to know when it came out, Diana, thank you for bringing it up, that it is something we're trying to figure out.
Absolutely. And I think the benefit is the economies of scale, right? That it's the Episcopal Church across trying to negotiate and leverage these premiums on behalf of our parishes.
Thank you both.
May I jump in?
Yes.
I know I need to raise my hand. I can't figure
No,
out
it's okay, Allison. No worries. Go ahead.
I'm so old. I want to thank Diana for raising that. These are some of the notes I'm jotting down. I know from my own budget how much the family, and we're paying, ECY pays 85%. I'm paying 15%, which I just learned is actually too high. I should be paying 10%. So that's good news for me. But it's always been a concern for the family budget as well as for the organization's budget. And it's just worth saying out loud, this really astonished me when I lived in Hawaii and I had access to healthcare through the University of Hawaii system, that, and my wife is a priest, and she had access to the exact same package with the exact same insurer. And U of H had negotiated the cost to be about 50% of what it costs the Episcopal Church for the exact same coverage. And so obviously we were going with U of H to save the church money and ourselves also, but it just seems like we are paying so much for this. And I thank you, Jeff, for letting us know that the bishops are on this, because it just seems like this could really sink a small budget. And I think it's, as everybody knows why so many churches can't afford full-time clergy and all these things, but it's a real hardship, honestly. And I just wanted to thank Diana for bringing that up, because I'm glad this is on everybody's mind.
And if you all, thank you both, Allison and Diana. If you're not signed up to receive the Mission Matters newsletter, we will be posting in detail the health premiums and the categories. And what we've presented today is just the impact on our budget and a summary, right? Just to give an overall view. But we will be printing that and sending that out to everyone. And also CPG, Kathy, can you chime in? They will be sending notices to all parishes on the portal when it opens and when people need to go in and choose and how much.
notification is sent to employees. I don't know what's sent to the parish directly, but to anyone employed that's on the health plan. And just to clarify one point that I kind of misspoke before, to Allison's point, the parishes are required to pay a minimum 85%. So the 85, 90, 95, that is what we do, but parishes are not required to do that.
And it's negotiable, right? And
Right.
based on
But 85 is the minimum.
the minimum. Mhm. Great questions. Thank you all. Any other questions? Oh, Ellen, is your hand up? No? Oh, that was my hand. Sorry. My little hand was on your picture.
Oh,
Anyone else?
wow.
Well, thank you. These are great questions. We look forward to seeing you guys at convention. And if anyone is interested, we have 2 more sessions coming up tomorrow, December 2nd and on December 10th. Feel free to join us. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to join us again. Bishop Mello, may I impose on you on a closing prayer?
Of course, the Lord be with you.
And also with
Also
you.
with you.
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we praise you and we bless you. We give you thanks for the gift of this day. Give you thanks for this group here gathered, for their faithfulness, for their willingness to work toward your purposes in this world. As we consider how it is we use the resources you give us in a way that magnifies your glory and your mission in this world, we ask you to be with all those who stand in harm's way because of war or famine or flooding or fear, violence in our homes and in our streets, across our borders, across the world. Show us the way to the peace you long for us to know, to find ways to share what we know is enough, if we could figure out how to do it. Calm our fears. Help us to put our entire trust and hope in you, the foundation under our feet. Open our ears to the needs of this world. Open our mouths to speak your words of peace and hope, and break open our hearts with love for one another and for you. All this we ask in the name of your Son, our risen Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
God bless
Thank
you all.
you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you, finance team.
Thank you all. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Thank you.